Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. Okay, I could have actually called this Tesla's most important product, but I already decided that was Tesla's LFP battery, and I don't like inconsistency or losing credibility just for clicks. But in actual fact, this product could possibly be argued as Tesla's most important single product to have an effect on carbon emissions. You see, we're facing an issue. We need more energy, and we don't want to do it by burning more fossil fuels. With Tesla's solar business, it will increase supply of renewable energy. Tesla's battery business will allocate the supply more efficient, reducing demand from the grid and requiring less energy to be created in the first place. One issue we do have, though, is that all of our transport also burns fossil fuels, so we plan on replacing these with electric vehicles. Well, these electric vehicles will need to be charged regularly, putting more pressure on the electricity grids. It's a bit like 2 steps forwards, but 1 step back. The thing is, the majority of energy consumption is in heating. Okay, you probably worked out where I'm going. If we can reduce the energy consumed through heating, then we would have an enormous impact on reducing global energy consumption. In comes Tesla's heat pump. As we know, Tesla created a revolutionary new heat pump to fit in the Model Y to help increase range. I believe they also had some engineers from SpaceX to help them on that too. One other major advantage no other auto company has. That is an insane resource on any level. Literal teams of rocket scientists and engineers to help design and build your products. Since then, Elon has said they do plan on making their own heat pump for buildings too, which makes perfect sense, and it's totally germane to Tesla's overall mission. If you can reduce energy consumption by 30%, then you need 30% less solar and batteries. I mean, including water heating, and depending on where you live, about 60% of domestic energy consumption is for heating. If Tesla made an HVAC system that was 50% more efficient than traditional ones, then that is huge. Of course, it won't be an overnight thing. It's obviously going to take a long time for Tesla to start producing them at mass scale, but eventually there'll be a time when they serve as a positive return on investment for all consumers. As in, you buy a Tesla heat pump, and then perhaps in 5 years or so, the heat pump has paid for itself. This might be particularly useful for commercial purposes, if businesses can find ways of cutting costs and make more profits. So I would say Tesla will likely offer home and industrial versions of the heat pumps. They may even make a component for other manufacturers that could go into products like clothes dryers or refrigeration and freezing. These also account for a lot of energy consumption too. I don't know if Tesla want to go into manufacturing the actual appliances themselves. If they don't, then at least they could pass on their technology to those who do, and thus reduce the amount of energy consumption from their products. Sort of like opening up their FSD to all car manufacturers. Now, a lot of consumers can't afford the initial capital expense of a heat pump, particularly in nations that are less wealthy. It may very well be that they have to spend $4,000 to save $1,000 a year, a great return on investment, but only of any use if you can actually afford the heat pump in the first place. This is a classic example of how I view real capitalism. Capitalism being a society that creates the ability to generate capital for such items. And Tesla being a cash flow juggernaut by some stage might help with that, and offer payment plans or something along those lines. And a lot of these same nations who cannot afford the initial price of a heat pump, well, they likely have an extra benefit to owning a Tesla heat pump as well. Well, we all do, but it means a lot more to these countries if they don't have clean drinking water. That's right, these heat pumps can also produce clean drinking water. This would cut down dramatically on the use of plastic bottles, not to mention disease. Whereas other companies would try and find better pipes for distributing water, Tesla removes the necessity of pipes altogether. The best process is no process. This also decentralizes drinking water. As many of you know, I'm a big fan of the benefits of decentralization, and Tesla is a great company to decentralize us all. We would expect Tesla's heat pump to be more efficient than HVAC technology, but wouldn't we also expect a Tesla system to be smarter too? And in steps Dojo. Can you imagine the level of intelligence that Dojo could create, and how much more efficient these heat pumps could run? Of course, these heat pumps are going to need microchips too. All of Tesla's products will need microchips. So I think it inevitable that Tesla does end up starting their own semiconductor factory one day. It's a component they rely heavily on in all their products. It can also create supply issues easily, and vertical integration is part of Tesla's business. Along with SpaceX, Tesla are surely going to put more R&D into a heat pump than we've ever seen anyone put into any form of HVAC in history. Yes, they already have the Model Y version of a heat pump, but that had to be designed compact enough to fit in a car, and lightweight as well. For an HVAC system in a building, well, there's significantly more space available, and weight simply isn't as important for application. There is some irony with this product. Tesla are making a product that would reduce demand for their energy business. If less energy is required, then less solar and battery storage is also required. But we're a long way off from there. Elon has said that Tesla will be at the production level for Powerwalls at 1 million a year for next year. And the heat pump too is going to be all about manufacturing. You see, Tesla make very capital intensive products, which is why manufacturing is such an important element of this business. It sounds like Elon didn't know entirely what he was getting into when it came to building cars and batteries, as in just how hard manufacturing actually is. But I have a theory that Elon would have said that about anything he did, because that's just how hard he works. And that it's not the manufacturing in general that's hard, it's just how hard Elon is making it for himself, because he sets the standards so high, whereas traditional manufacturers don't care so much, aren't as ambitious, and don't have world-saving missions as their motivation. Every product Tesla make has to be thought about in production on levels that we've never seen before. Not producing hundreds of thousands a year, but more like tens of millions. At these rates, the slightest improvement makes a big overall difference. But next year, we might see 1 million Model Ys made, or thereabouts. Well, that's also 1 million heat pumps required a year too, as every Model Y contains a heat pump. So Tesla do already have experience manufacturing heat pumps. Of course, there's a big difference between heat pumps in buildings and heat pumps in cars, but I'm sure it's all good experience. And with Tesla's vertical integration and amazing techniques, then perhaps they really can get the price of these heat pumps down significantly. If they're 50% more efficient through better engineering and AI, then it's a money printing machine. I do mean that literally, as any consumers who purchase a heat pump would save money on their power bills. There's a big difference between making even 1 million heat pumps a year though, and enough to have an impact on global energy consumption. They really need to be up around something ridiculous like 50 million a year. If they can't hit those kind of numbers, then it won't have the required impact. And if Tesla make $2,000 net profit per heat pump, well, that's another $100 billion profit a year. Wow, another massive industry for Tesla that is once again hugely profitable. This is the Tesla standard heat pump, of course, too. We aren't looking for cheap disposable products that break and need to be replaced over several years. We would hope Tesla's heat pumps would last a long time, something like the million-mile battery of heat pumps. And then, of course, when they do need to replace, they'll be easy to recycle. Anyway, this certainly appears to be another product from Tesla with great potential and possibly worth over another $1 trillion to the company over time. Remember, we do forget that Tesla is actually still a relatively small company, with only half a dozen or so factories. To put that in perspective, Volkswagen have 136 production plants globally, and Tesla have significantly larger market capitalization already, with plans to make a lot more cars than Volkswagen, and many other products in addition to that. Tesla are growing in as efficient way as they can to start with, but once the systems are in place, then hopefully they can rinse and repeat without too much difficulty, and that's when the real growth starts. Well, it sure will be exciting when it's finally unveiled. I think we can all imagine the waiting list to order one already. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.